Without objection, the gentlelady is now recognized for 1 minute.
Quote, I don't think about Americans' financial situation at all. I don't think about anybody. Madam Speaker, over the past too many years, I've found it important to point out our leaders' failures to tell the truth. This week, I heard something different, though no less troubling. I heard the truth. On his way to China this week, the president said he does not care about Americans' financial situation. While back at home, inflation is surging. Gas in my home of Montgomery County, Pennsylvania has skyrocketed to $4.69 a gallon. Diesel even higher. Farmers' input costs soaring. Groceries, utilities, rent, all sorts of goods, all up. Through his illegal tariffs, grotesque immigration policies, and now a reckless $30 billion to date, poorly thought out, deadly war in Iran, everything costs more. The president does not care, and now he wants American taxpayers to fund his billion-dollar golden ballroom. Congressional Republicans somehow champion it. Madam Speaker, the president may not think about lowering costs. He may not care, but I do. I yield back.
For what purpose does the gentlelady from Illinois seek recognition?
Madam Speaker, I ask unanimous consent to address the House for 1 minute and to revise the
Without objection.
Thank you. I rise today to honor Urbana Councilwoman, proud dog mom to Riley, and now to Bronsley, and my dear friend, Chandra Bishop. For 7 years, Chandra served Urbana with determination and heart, fighting tirelessly for reforms to local policing systems, helping get folks in the community connected to good jobs, and working to strengthen public safety in the community. All the while, Chandra was fighting for a long and difficult battle with cancer. At 29 years old, Chandra was diagnosed with stage 4 intrahepatic cholangiocarcinoma, a rare cancer that affects fewer than 6 in 100,000 people each year. When standard treatments were no longer enough, she refused to give up and enrolled in clinical trials in search of hope, not only for herself, but for the others facing the very same fight. In the process, she became a powerful advocate and an expert. When the Biden White House convened a forum on the importance of clinical trials, Chandra shared her story, helping others understand what the research funding means for patients and families across the country. And while the Trump administration moved to cut clinical trial funding at NIH, Chandra and I worked together to speak out about the devastating consequences those cuts could have for Americans still searching for answers.
Time has expired.
My thoughts are with Chandra as she continues her fight. Thank you, and I yield back.
For what purpose does the gentlelady from Arizona seek recognition? Without objection, the gentlelady is recognized for 1 minute.
Madam Speaker, I rise today with great pride to celebrate the incredible students of the Apache Jazz Ensemble from Nogales High School in Arizona's 7th Congressional District. Earlier this spring, I had the joy of attending the Mingus Jazz Festival in Nogales and listened to the ensemble's performance. Their talent, energy, and love for music were absolutely unforgettable, and I was so grateful for the opportunity to meet the students and hear their stories firsthand. Since then, these remarkable young musicians traveled to Orlando, Florida to compete in the at Festival Disney, where they earned a superior rating with an outstanding score of 97.7, taking first place in their division and winning the prestigious Gold Mickey Award, the highest honor awarded across all instrumental divisions. These students represented Nogales and Southern Arizona with excellence, discipline, and heart. Their achievement is a testament to their hard work and dedication of their director, Anthony Belletti, and the power of music education to inspire and uplift our communities. To the Apache Jazz Ensemble Nogales High School and all of your friends, fans, and family, muchísimas gracias, felicidades, and thank you for making Arizona proud. I yield back.
For what purpose does the gentleman from New York seek recognition?
Madam Speaker, I request unanimous consent to address the House for 1 minute and to revise and extend my remarks.
Without objection, the gentleman is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, let me celebrate young Stella Apicella, a 6th grader at Blind Brook Middle School in Rye Brook, as she prepares to become a bat mitzvah on May 30th. I've seen Stella grow up over the years, the daughter of Joe Apicella and Tara Rosenblum, two prominent Westchester residents, and Stella is growing as a confident, thoughtful, and compassionate young woman. She loves basketball, go Knicks, soccer, dancing, and fashion, and she is a talented public speaker through debate club and by sharing the stage at times with her prominent mother. Most importantly, she gives back to her community. She stands up for others, and she always looks out for the underdog, qualities that will serve her well far beyond this special day. Stella, mazel tov on this great accomplishment. From the floor of the U.S. House of Representatives, we send our best to you. Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I yield back.
Pursuant to House Resolution 1275 and Rule 18, the Chair declares the House and the Committee of the Whole House on the State of the Union for the further consideration of H.R. 8469. Will the gentleman from North Carolina, Mr. Rouser, kindly take the chair?
The House is in the Committee of the Whole House on the State of the Union for the further consideration of the bill H.R. 8469, which the clerk will report by title.
A bill making appropriations for military construction, the Department of Veterans Affairs and related agencies for the fiscal year ending September 30th, 2027, and for other purposes.
When the Committee of the Whole rose on Thursday, May 14, 2026, Amendment Number 23, printed in Part B of House Report 119-648, offered by the gentleman from Florida, Mr. Mast, had been disposed of. It is now in order to consider Amendment Number 29, printed in Part B of House Report 119-648. For what purpose? Oh, pardon me, go ahead. The clerk will designate the amendment. For what purpose does the gentleman from Pennsylvania rise?
Mr. Chairman, I have an amendment at the desk.
The clerk will designate the amendment.
Amendment number 29, printed in Part B of House Report number 119-648, offered by Mr. Perry of Pennsylvania.
Pursuant to House Resolution 1275, the gentleman from Pennsylvania, Mr. Perry, and a member opposed, each will control 5 minutes. The chair recognizes the gentleman from Pennsylvania.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This amendment increases and decreases the amount appropriated in the medical services account in the Milcon VA Appropriations Bill to furnish stellate ganglion block, or SGB, in every VA facility, not just some of them. SGB therapy is an outpatient procedure that has been used since the 1920s. It is safe, it is effective, it is affordable, almost no known side effects, especially in cases where other treatments have failed and proven to alleviate common PTSD or PTSI symptoms such as exaggerated responses and anxiety. By injecting an anesthetic agent into the stellate ganglion, nerves in the neck that control the fight or flight reflex, it helps bring relief to regions of the cerebral cortex throughout thought to be abnormally activated in sufferers of PTSD. SGB changes the paradigm of treatment from the failing perception of simply a mental disorder to that of a treatable injury, and with traditional therapies as needed, can bring long-term relief to the injured veterans. As of 2018, only 11 out of all of America's 170 VA facilities reported using SGB or making it available. Making matters worse, a veteran must fail all other traditional treatments before being considered for SGB therapy, which anecdotally is effective 85% of the time. The time, distance, and monetary burdens demanded from finding SGB elsewhere frequently prove too much. I've heard stories of service members getting in a van and traveling from Alabama on their last dime to come up north to try and get the treatment. At least far too many of our veterans with options like self-medicating, self-harm, and too often suicide as the outcome. Our nation suffers 20 veteran suicides every single day. Enough is enough. This has been way overdue, way too long. Far too many of our veterans come home to find the war comes home with them. Our current PTSD treatments provide relief for only a fraction of our veterans, and some really encouraging treatments are either unavailable or offered at too few facilities. We have a moral duty to do everything possible to ease the suffering of those who risked all to protect our freedoms and our way of life and our country. This incredible PTSD treatment, the results of which I've witnessed personally. This amendment increases and decreases the amount appropriated to furnish SGB in every VA facility. So you don't have to just go to some, you can go to any. It directs the Secretary of the VA to expand SGB access to veterans upon PTSD diagnosis by making it a covered treatment under federal law. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I reserve.
The gentleman reserves. For what purpose does the gentlelady from Florida seek recognition?
Mr. Speaker, I rise to claim time in opposition to the gentleman's amendment.
The gentlelady is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It is not the place of Congress to be pushing for increased use of specific experimental treatments. This procedure is highly invasive, requiring an injection of medication into a collection of nerves at the bottom of the front side of the neck. The VA and NIH are in the midst of a multi-year clinical trial to collect data on this treatment for potential use in treating post-traumatic stress disorder, but does not yet have sufficient data one way or another regarding this treatment. In fact, preliminary data shows that SGB effects are not clear, and it is uncertain whether there is a direct link between the treatment and PTSD. If this treatment is safe, effective, and appropriate for expanded use, then the healthcare experts at the VA should be the ones to expand the treatment for wider use. There is a deliberative process for expanding the use of emerging healthcare treatments, and we should let that process play out. It is really not Congress's role to micromanage medical decisions, and I urge my colleagues to oppose the amendment, and I reserve the balance of my time.
Gentlelady reserves. The gentleman from Pennsylvania is recognized.
While the deliberative process is playing out, this treatment has been used for over 100 years without any known side effects, without any damage to anybody, 85% effective for the users that have used it, and I've witnessed it. And it's so invasive, Mr. Chairman, it takes 15 minutes of lying down on the table and getting an injection, and oftentimes sitting up, standing up, and being relieved of your PTSD right then. While they're studying it, while they're fighting at the VA over turf about which treatment is the best, which practitioner should have primacy, 20 veterans a day are taking their own lives while they can't get the treatment. While they're studying it, it's offered in 11 facilities out of 170. Why, while they're studying it, are they offering it 11? While they're studying it, all the other veterans have to fail every other paradigm before they can get it, and often they commit suicide before they ever get it. I'm tired of waiting on the bureaucracy at the VA and the turf wars between practitioners to do something to save our veterans, and I'm going to keep on fighting. So I understand the gentlelady's comments. I just completely disagree. It's time for us to act. Well, they won't. It's our duty. Abraham Lincoln said it is our duty to take care of those who have borne the battle, and we're not doing it. We're waiting on the VA and these different doctors and paradigms to discuss, oh, well, maybe this works, maybe that doesn't work. Well, these guys and gals are dying every single day. We got to do something about it. I reserve.
Gentleman reserves. Gentlelady from Florida is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Chairman, I can appreciate the gentleman's passion. This treatment is being trialed and piloted in 11 facilities for a reason, because we have to make sure it's safe. You are not Dr. Perry. I am not Dr. Wasserman Schultz. In fact, it's important to note that in many instances, when this treatment has been administered, while it might provide some immediate relief, oftentimes the PTSD symptoms come back. And so this trial is being wrapped up in June, and then it'll take about a year to analyze the data. We are not medical experts. I have argued time and again on this House floor that Congress is not equipped to be making medical decisions, particularly specific medical decisions that affect a unique group of patients. And, I certainly hope that this trial results in progress and relief, and that it would be scientifically validated. But it's our responsibility to wait for the experts to provide us with those results before decisions are made, and leave those decisions to the VA. And with that, I oppose this amendment. We should use the process for expanding the use of emerging healthcare treatments, and we should let that process play out. I urge my colleagues to vote no, and I yield back the balance of my time.
Gentlelady yields back. The gentleman from Pennsylvania is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Since 2018, 11 facilities, VA facilities out of 170 have been using it. Not studying it, using it. The study happened after that, and every day that the study's occurring, 20 service members take their lives. The U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs estimates between 11 and 20% of Operation Iraqi Freedom and Enduring Freedom veterans have PTSD in a given year. 12% of Gulf War veterans, 15% of Vietnam veterans. Sadly, only 40% of these heroes will find relief with current treatments. I'm tired of waiting on the VA and this study, which quite honestly is just prolonging the turf war between practitioners there. Some of them say they should have primacy and this shouldn't even be involved. Yet again, outpatient procedure.
Gentleman's time
15
has
minutes.
expired.
I urge adoption. I yield the balance.
Gentleman yields back. The question is on the amendment offered by the gentleman from Pennsylvania. Those in favor say aye. Those opposed say no. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. The amendment is agreed to. The chair understands amendments number 42 through 45 will not be offered. It is now in order to consider amendment number 49, printed in Part B of House Report 119-648. For what purpose does the gentleman from Florida seek recognition?
Mr. Speaker, I have an amendment at the desk.
The clerk will designate the amendment.
Amendment number 49, printed in Part B of House Report number 119-648, offered by Mr. Stubbe of Florida.
Pursuant to House Resolution 1275, the gentleman from Florida, Mr. Stubbe, and a member opposed, each will control 5 minutes. The chair recognizes the gentleman from Florida.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This amendment is very simple. This amendment prohibits funds from being used to close the Port Charlotte VA clinic. I've heard from a number of different constituents and veterans in Charlotte County that oppose this clinic being shut down, so this amendment would prohibit funds being used to shut down the Port Charlotte VA clinic. This amendment would not delay construction on a new clinic in Northport, and I yield back.
Does the gentleman reserve?
Yield back.
Oh, the gentleman yields back. The gentlelady from Florida.
Mr. Speaker,
For what purpose does the gentlelady from Florida seek recognition?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to claim time in opposition, although I am not opposed to the amendment.
Without objection.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As a fellow Floridian, I just want to make sure that I underscore the importance of making sure that we preserve access to health care for veterans across our state, and I look forward to working with the gentleman, as we have many times in the past, on ensuring that continued access, understand his concerns, and look forward to working with him and Judge Carter and the VA to ensure continued access to his constituents. With that, I yield back the balance of my time.
Gentlelady yields back. The question is on the amendment offered by the gentleman from Florida. Those in favor say aye. Those opposed say no. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. The amendment is agreed to. It is now in order to consider amendment number 50, printed in Part B of House Report 119-648. For what purpose does the gentleman from Florida seek recognition?
I have an amendment at the desk.
The clerk will designate the amendment.
Amendment number 50, printed in Part B of House Report number 119-648, offered by Mr. Stubbe of Florida.
Pursuant to House Resolution 1275, the gentleman from Florida, Mr. Stubbe, and a member opposed, each will control 5 minutes. The chair recognizes the gentleman from Florida.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise today to offer an amendment that puts the defense of our own troops, bases, and national security above all else, not to subsidize the defenses of NATO countries that lecture us on peace, hesitate to stand with us, and in some cases actively undermine our efforts to confront the terrorist regime in Iran. My amendment redirects more than $480 million in funding from the NATO Security Investment Program. Essentially, it moves nearly $500 million used for foreign military base infrastructure and redirects it towards improving the infrastructure needs of our own bases, for our own service members, and for our own national security. This is the definition of America First. The United States cannot continue carrying the defense burden for allied nations that fail to carry their own weight in the collective defense of each NATO member. But most importantly, we cannot continue to treat the generosity of the American taxpayer as automatic, while our allies treat their obligations as optional. Operation Epic Fury has exposed why this amendment is necessary. When President Trump moved to confront the Iranian terror regime, some NATO countries chose to tarnish the meaning of alliance and tried to subvert our ability to target Iran. Namely, it is France and Spain that continue to deny our military from using their airspace and many key defense facilities, forcing American forces to work around the very allied infrastructure that American taxpayers have helped sustain through NATO funding. Many of these bases exist within the broader NATO architect supported by programs like the NATO Security Investment Program, which this bill gives nearly $500 million to. Yet when the United States called for support, our so-called allies chose silence over solidarity. Alliances are not entitlement programs, nor are they blank checks. They are solemn commitments built on mutual defense, sacrifice, and responsibility. So if any foreign nation thinks they are deserving of the United States military and the backing of our taxpayers, best they not demand the comfort of our alliance and reject the courage it requires. The American people deserve the assurance that every single investment made actually serves our national interests. But every dollar in this bill should be measured against one standard. Does it support our national security, our readiness, and our warfighters and their families? If the answer is no, then we have the responsibility to redirect such funds and put America first. This is why this amendment matters. Our first and only obligation should be to support our warfighters. We owe it to the American people that their tax dollars are spent in a manner strengthening American readiness, improving our base infrastructure, supporting our service members and their families, and advancing our national security. I urge my colleagues to stop subsidizing our part-time allies and vote for my amendment. I reserve.
The gentleman reserves. For what purpose does the gentlelady from Florida seek recognition?
Mr. Chairman, I rise to claim time in opposition to the gentleman's amendment. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
The gentlelady is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This amendment would completely eliminate funding in the bill for the NATO Security Investment Program. The base bill already underfunds NATO infrastructure by $122 million less compared to the president's budget request. And even President Trump recognized the value of this program and the return on investment that the NSIP program provides for the American taxpayer. The president's budget requests $604 million for the NATO Security Investment Program, which is the amount required to fully fund America's commitments towards NATO infrastructure investments. The base bill provides only $482 million for the program, and this amendment would take that number all the way to zero. As the war in Ukraine rages on, this is not the time to abandon deterrence in Europe and undermine our alliances in the region. Moreover, these investments are not only needed to meet NATO's requirements to deter aggression from our adversaries, but also to directly support U.S. troops stationed in Europe. Around 1/3 of active NATO Security Investment Program projects are at U.S. theater posture locations, and an even larger number indirectly support U.S. troops stationed in or moving throughout the region. Yet the United States' share of funding for this project is only 15%. If the United States were to pay a share proportional to our gross national income at the same rate as our allies, we would pay for around 47% of these projects. To cut funding for this program is not only not fiscally sound policy. Without the NATO Security Investment Program, the operational requirements for these projects would not go away, and many of these projects would become a U.S. military construction burden. Our MilCon dollars are already stretched thin, and this amendment would abandon projects for which our allies pay 85% of the cost burden. Even if you are concerned about the overall defense spending levels of various NATO countries, this direct contribution program is one program through which our allies pay a disproportionate share. I encourage all of my colleagues to oppose this irresponsible amendment, and I reserve the balance of my time.
Gentlelady reserves. The gentleman from Florida is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On U.S. membership in NATO, President Donald J. Trump in April 2026 stated, and I quote, "Oh yes, I would say it's beyond reconsideration. I was never swayed by NATO. I always knew they were a paper tiger. And President Putin knows that too, by the way. They haven't been friends when we needed them. We've never asked them for much. It's a one-way street." On NATO assisting in the reopening of the Strait of Hormuz, a White House official in April 2026 stated, and I quote, "As President Trump said yesterday, NATO was tested and they failed. President Trump has zero expectations for NATO at this point and did not ask them for anything, even though it's a fact that they benefit from the Strait of Hormuz far more than the United States. President Trump posted on Truth Social on March 31st, 2026, and I quote, "The country of France wouldn't let planes headed to Israel, loaded up with military supplies, fly over French territory. France has been very unhelpful with respect to the butcher of Iran, who has been successfully eliminated. The USA will remember President DJT." President Trump on Truth Social on the United Kingdom on March 31st, 2026, stated, and I quote, "All of those countries that can't get jet fuel because of the Strait of Hormuz, like the United Kingdom, which refused to get involved in the decapitation of Iran, I have a suggestion for you. Number one, buy from the U.S. We have plenty. Number two, build up some delayed courage, go to the Strait, and just take it. You'll have to start learning how to fight for yourself. The USA won't be there to help you anymore. Just like you weren't there for us, Iran has been essentially decimated. The hard part is gone. Go get your own oil." President DJT. This just a couple of days ago from Secretary Rubio commenting on NATO basing rights. Quote, "One of the reasons I supported NATO is because it gave us basing rights in Europe. So when NATO partners like Spain deny us use of these bases, the primary reason for why NATO is good for America, then what is the purpose of the alliance?" I reserve.
Gentleman reserves.
Mr. Chairman, I yield 2 minutes to the chair of the Military Construction VA Subcommittee, Judge Carter.
The gentleman is recognized.
I thank the lady. I rise in opposition to this amendment. President Trump's budget request included funding for the account in fiscal year 2027. These funds supported our operational readiness and warfighting capabilities. I urge my colleagues to oppose this amendment.
Does the gentleman yield back?
I
Does
yield
the
back.
gentlelady yield back? I'm sorry.
reserve.
The gentlelady reserves. The gentleman from Florida is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The President's comments on this issue have been very clear. We are $39 trillion in debt, and we should be focused on America first, and we should be supporting our war fighters and our bases, not NATO, in this budget, and I yield back.
The gentleman yields back. The gentlelady from Florida is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think the point of Judge Carter and my argument is that this funding does support our war fighters in Europe. President Trump asked for, in spite of all the things that he has said about NATO, he asked in his budget for $604 million. And this budget is $122 million less than that, and the gentleman from Florida's amendment would wipe it out. So I strongly urge my colleagues to oppose this amendment because it would eliminate funding for infrastructure investments on which our troops and our allies rely. This is not for foreign troops. This is for our troops. It's not fiscally responsible to eliminate funding for this jointly funded program, which provides critical infrastructure. If we don't support the NATO Security Investment Program, then either we have to pay more to fund the cost of our infrastructure, and Europe will be leaving us on our own, or we allow these needs to go unmet to the detriment of our men and women in uniform and American military readiness. We need to make this decision about this amendment not based on rhetoric, but on reality. And the reality is that this funding ensures that we can keep our troops ready and safe. I urge my colleagues to oppose this amendment, and I yield back the balance of my time.
Gentlelady yields back. The question is on the amendment offered by the gentleman from Florida. Those in favor say aye. Those opposed say no. In the opinion of the chair, the noes have it. The amendment is not agreed to.
I ask for a recorded vote.
A recorded vote is requested. Those in favor of taking this vote by recorded vote will rise. A sufficient number having risen, a recorded vote is ordered. Members will record their vote by electronic device. This is a 15-minute vote. On this vote, the yeas are 80 and the nays are 333. The amendment is not adopted. There being no further amendment under the rule, the committee rises.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Speaker, the Committee of the Whole House on the State of the Union has had under consideration H.R. 8469, and pursuant to House Resolution 1275, I report the bill as amended by that resolution back to the House with sundry further amendments adopted in the Committee of the Whole.
The Chair of the Committee of the Whole House on the State of the Union reports that the committee has under consideration the bill H.R. 8469 and reports the bill back to the House with sundry amendments adopted in the Committee of the Whole. Under House Resolution 1275, the previous question is ordered. In a separate vote, demanded on any amendment reported from the Committee of the Whole. If not, the Chair will put them in gross. The question is on the adoption of the amendments. Those in favor, please say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendments are adopted. The question is on engrossment and third reading of the bill. Those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. Third reading.
A bill making appropriations for military construction, the Department of Veterans Affairs, and related agencies for the fiscal year ending September 30th, 2027, and for other purposes.
The question is on the passage of the bill under Clause 10, Rule 20. The yeas and nays are ordered. Members will record their votes by electronic device. This is a 5-minute vote. On this vote, the yeas are 400, the nays are 15. The bill is passed. Without objection, a motion to consider is laid on the table.
For what purpose does the gentleman from Pennsylvania seek recognition?
Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent that when the House adjourns today, it adjourn to meet at noon on Tuesday next morning, our debate at 2 p.m. for legislative business.
Without objection. The chair will now entertain requests for 1-minute speeches. For what purpose does the gentleman from Kentucky seek recognition? Without objection, the gentleman is recognized for 1 minute.
And as for order.
Be in order. The House will be in order.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to honor the life and legacy of my dear friend Fred Nestler. Fred was best known for his service as a very popular and effective member of the Kentucky House of Representatives from 1994 to 2012, where he represented his beloved home of Graves County in West Kentucky. I first met Fred when I got elected to the Kentucky House of Representatives in 2001. Fred and I were of different political parties, but that didn't matter to him. Fred was a public servant whose only priority was to best represent his constituents. I was so impressed with Fred Nestler's leadership skills that I talked him into joining me at the Kentucky Department of Agriculture in 2012 for all 4 years of my term as Kentucky Agriculture Commissioner. Fred was a larger-than-life figure in West Kentucky politics who was loved by everyone. Prior to his service in the Kentucky legislature, Fred was a field representative for Congressman Carroll Hubbard. Representative Hubbard once said Fred was the best that he had, and I replied, I have no doubt Fred Nestler was the very best. He was a West Kentucky legend who will be deeply missed. I yield back.
For what purpose does the gentleman from Arizona seek recognition? Without objection, the gentleman is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As President Trump returns from Beijing, I rise to deliver a clear message. We must fulfill America's commitments to Taiwan. Congress has approved the sale of critical defense systems to Taiwan. Taiwan has paid for them, and these weapons have not yet been delivered. Xi Jinping's #1 goal from the summit was to convince Trump not to sell these weapons, and that's exactly why we need to. Taiwan's legislature has passed a landmark special defense budget, a show of serious commitment to its own self-defense. We need to hold up our end of the deal. This is about national security, our own economy. TSMC has invested over $200 billion in my home state of Arizona. Phoenix has become the epicenter of the semiconductor industry. Those jobs, those fabs, that future, it all depends on a stable, secure, self-governing, democratic Taiwan. As co-chair of the bipartisan Congressional Taiwan Caucus, I call on the Trump administration to immediately complete delivery of every defense system Congress has approved and Taiwan has purchased. No more delays, no more excuses. I yield back.
For what purpose does the gentleman from North Carolina seek recognition? Without objection, the gentleman is recognized for 1 minute.
Mr. Speaker, as we recognize those who serve in law enforcement during Police Week, we must also pause to remember those who gave their lives in the line of duty. Their courage, their dedication, and their sacrifice must never be forgotten. Today, we honor North Carolina's fallen officers whose names will be added to the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial Wall. Arthur D. Ramsey of the Asheville Police Department. Frank J. Hagan of the Asheville Police Department. Francisco P. Flatts II of the Cherokee County Sheriff Office, Mark D. Lukowski of the OAJ Ellis Airport Police Department, Roger L. Smith of the Wake Med Campus Police and Public Safety Department. Each of these officers answered the call to protect and serve, and they represent the very best of our communities. We honor their service, we honor their sacrifice, and we stand with the families who continue to carry their legacy forward. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I yield back.
For what purpose does the gentleman from Texas seek recognition? Without objection, the gentleman is recognized for 1 minute.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today to introduce the Kimberly Vaughn Safe Firearm Storage Act. 8 years ago, Kimberly was a student at a Texas high school, and she, several of her classmates and teachers were murdered by a student who brought his parents' gun to school because it was not properly secured. Their deaths were both a tragedy and entirely preventable. Safe firearm storage is one of the simplest and most effective ways to reduce gun violence, suicides, accidental deaths, and having stolen weapons end up in the hands of people who should not have them. But 7 million children in this country are in a home with a loaded and unlocked firearm. And every year, hundreds of kids are killed and injured because guns are within arm's reach. This bill aims to change that. It requires safe storage devices with every firearm sale. It provides grants so that communities can disperse those devices, and it gives retailers a tax credit to make it easier for them to do the right thing. Kimberly and her schoolmates should have come home that day. This bill is about making sure that every single kid does. I yield back.
For what purpose does the gentleman from Colorado seek recognition?
Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent to address the House for 1 minute and to revise and extend my remarks.
Without objection, the gentleman is recognized for 1 minute.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today during National Police Week to recognize the heroic actions of Officer Tyler Cunningham of the Montrose Police Department. While responding to a residential structure fire alongside fellow first responders, Officer Cunningham arrived to find the roof and back of a home fully engulfed in flames. After learning that a woman remained trapped inside, he quickly assessed the situation, forced entry through the front door, and entered the burning residence. Officer Cunningham was able to find the woman and carry her to safety where EMS personnel were waiting on scene. In moments of crisis, first responders are called upon to make split-second decisions under extraordinary pressure. Officer Cunningham's courage, quick judgment, and willingness to put himself in harm's way saved a life that day. His actions reflect the professionalism, selflessness, and dedication displayed every day by law enforcement officers and first responders across Colorado's 3rd District. I ask that all of my colleagues join me in thanking Officer Cunningham for his bravery and for his continued service to the people of Colorado. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield back.
For what purpose does the gentleman from Illinois seek recognition?
Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent to address the body for 1 minute and to revise and extend my remarks.
Without objection, the gentleman is recognized for 1 minute.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today in honor of Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month and in the spirit of Frederick Douglass, whose vision of freedom was never narrow and never timid. It was in 1869, as anti-Chinese hatred was rising in America, Frederick Douglass delivered his great speech, Our Composite Nation. He stood against the spirit that would produce the Chinese Exclusion Act and declared a liberal and brotherly welcome to all who are likely to come to the United States. Is the only wise policy which this nation can adopt. Douglass knew that America's strength was in inclusion, not exclusion. He said, I want a home here, not only for the Negro, the mulatto, and the Latin races, but I want the Asiatic to find a home here in the United States. That was moral courage, that was historical clarity, and that is the truth we must carry today. Asian Americans have helped build this country, defended this country, and have enriched this great country. Yet they have faced exclusion, violence, suspicion, and injustice. This month, we do more than celebrate. We remember, we recommit, we reject anti-Asian hate and xenophobia. And as Douglass said, a smile or a tear has no nationality. Let us build this composite nation he envisioned just, inclusive, and free. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield back.
For what purposes does the gentleman from Arizona seek recognition? Without objection, the gentleman is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I rise today to recognize the outstanding young men of Sigma Nu fraternity at Arizona State University. I had the pleasure of spending time with this group last month and am encouraged by their honorable character, discipline in the classroom, and desire to do good in the community. ASU Sigma Nus have a rich understanding of our Constitution and recognize the importance of civic engagement. They also desire to make a meaningful difference to those around them, routinely partnering with organizations like Child Help and the Food Recovery Network to fight food waste and hunger. Sigma Nus are also leaders who serve in ASU's student government and in a variety of campus clubs. When young men surround themselves with peers who challenge them to grow and live with integrity, they are better prepared to serve their families, communities, and the nation. The men I met at Sigma Nu were thoughtful, driven, and deeply committed to serving others. I have no doubt they will continue to make a just and positive impact on their campus, throughout Arizona, and across our country. I thank them for their leadership, their example, and their commitment to these timeless values. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield back.
For what purposes does the gentlewoman from New Jersey seek recognition? Without objection, the gentlewoman is recognized for 1 minute.
I rise to recognize the life of Mrs. Jennifer Gonzaga, who passed away on May 10th, 2026, after dedicating her life to education and the joy of nurturing young minds. For 25 years, Jennifer served as a first and second grade teacher at Linden School in Glen Ridge, New Jersey. Her commitment to her students and her passion for teaching left an indelible mark on countless lives. She was known for her patience, creativity, unwavering dedication to fostering a love of learning in her classroom. She's survived by her devoted husband, Romo Mel Gonzaga. Their enduring 29-year partnership was a testament to love and support through all of life's seasons. Jennifer's memory will live on in the hearts of all who knew her, including myself. Mr. Speaker, I yield.
For what purposes does the gentleman from Utah seek recognition? Without objection, the gentleman is recognized for 1 minute.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today to commend two of our nation's finest who saved a life that otherwise would surely have been lost. On March 15th, a man driving through Florida experienced a medical emergency that caused him to crash into a shallow body of water, fully submerging the vehicle. Airman Jesse Arguello and Airman Skylo Rios, both of the Naval Aviation School Command, leapt into action with military precision. While Airman Rios summoned emergency services, Airman Arguello jumped into the water in an attempt to rescue the now drowning driver. After kicking a hole in the sunroof, tearing out chunks of glass with his bare hands, Airman Arguello pulled the driver through the broken sunroof opening and dragged this individual to safety on the shore. I couldn't be more proud of these two young airmen. They represent the finest tradition of our military warriors. I'm especially proud to say that Airman Jesse Arguello hails from my own 3rd District in Utah. May God bless these two great examples of what is making America great again. Thank you, and I yield back.
For what purposes does the gentleman from Puerto Rico seek recognition? Without objection, the gentleman is recognized for 1 minute.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today to honor the life of Piculín Ortiz. Born in Ay Bonito and raised in Calle, Piculín became a symbol of Puerto Rican pride, perseverance, and excellence. Our Atlético and Cangrejero, our guy in the NBA, our compatriota in the Olympics, where we beat the U.S. Dream Team in 2004. Piculín Ortiz will live forever in the hearts of a grateful Puerto Rico. Mr. Speaker, I rise to honor two Puerto Rican brothers, Jose Luis and Irat Ortiz, for their triumphant performance at the Kentucky Derby. They reminded an entire generation of Puerto Ricans that where you come from does not determine how far you can go. This story is Puerto Rico's story, resilient, determined, and capable of competing with anyone in the world. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield back.
For what purposes does the gentleman from Tennessee seek recognition?
Mr. Speaker, I seek unanimous consent to address the House for 1 minute to revise and extend my remarks.
Without objection, the gentleman is recognized for 1 minute.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today to honor my dear friend Pete Michaels, who's celebrating 50 years of reporting traffic in Knoxville. Pete is the embodiment of the American dream and how when you put your mind towards something, anything is possible. He was an entrepreneur from the beginning. Pete started with $7.63 in his pocket. With the help of a banker, he bought his first airplane before he even had a pilot's license and signed radio contracts before his business was even started. Still to this day, you'll hear Pete's voice across radio stations in Knoxville giving you a traffic report on all the major highways and roads. Congratulations, Pete, on this historic mark of 5 decades on the air, and thank you for taking care of the good folks of East Tennessee every day, and thank you for being my very loyal, longtime friend. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield back the remainder of my time.
For what purposes does the gentlewoman from North Carolina seek recognition? Without objection, the gentlewoman is recognized for 1 minute.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today to congratulate my constituent, Ms. Kay Gant, on her retirement from the National Institute of Minority Economic Development after 17 years of distinguished service. For nearly 2 decades, Ms. Gant dedicated herself to advancing economic opportunity and supporting minority entrepreneurs across North Carolina. Through her leadership and unwavering commitment, she helped strengthen an organization whose mission is vital to expanding access to capital, resources, and opportunity for underserved communities. Notably, during the COVID-19 pandemic, Ms. Gant provided operational leadership for a relief initiative that helped the Institute's CDFI affiliate deliver more than $20 million in grants to over 2,000 historically underutilized businesses, helping countless small businesses survive an extraordinarily difficult time. I am grateful for Ms. Kay Gant's service and lasting impact and wish her a joyful and well-deserved retirement. Thank you, and I yield back.
For what purposes does the gentleman from Montana seek recognition?
The House for 1 minute and to revise and extend my remarks.
Without objection, the gentleman is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to take this opportunity to recognize the importance of the passage of the 2026 Farm Bill. The House-passed 2026 Farm Bill delivers certainty for our producers through enhancing critical initiatives such as the USDA's Farm Credit and Crop Insurance programs. These measures will ensure that farmers and ranchers have access to the capital that they need in order to navigate ongoing challenges like volatile commodity prices and extreme weather events going forward. From wheat growers on the High Line to cattle ranchers in eastern Montana, this bill will provide necessary stability for producers in my home district, allowing them to keep feeding our nation. I'd like to thank Chairman G.T. Thompson for his hard work on this effort. The House has acted, and now the Senate must do the same, and I urge swift passage of the Farm Bill in the Senate. And with that, Mr. Speaker, I yield back.
For what purposes does the gentlewoman from Minnesota seek recognition?
For 1 minute, extend and revise my remarks.
Without objection, the gentlewoman is recognized for 1 minute.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today to recognize Minnesota State Representative Erin Cagle for her incredible work serving in the Minnesota legislature. I was fortunate to have had the opportunity to work with Representative Cagle during my time serving in the Minnesota House of Representatives. And I quickly learned how thoughtful, dedicated, and strategic she is when it comes to serving her constituents. For decades, Rep. Cagle has worked tirelessly to improve the lives of everyday people, passing landmark transportation legislation to invest in roads, bridges, and transit, expanding worker protection for pregnant and breastfeeding Minnesotans. My belief in co-governance is made possible through my colleagues at the state and local level, and Representative Cagle has been a great partner in this work. I look forward to seeing the positive impact of her work for the years to come. Thank you, and I yield back.
For what purposes does the gentleman from Indiana seek recognition?
Mr. Speaker, I seek unanimous consent to address the House for 1 minute and to revise and extend my remarks.
Without objection, the gentleman is recognized for 1 minute.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today in vigorous support for the 2027 Military Construction and Veterans Affairs Appropriations Act. This bill delivers for Indiana service members, our veterans, military families, and our taxpayers. This includes $27.5 million for a new aviation maintenance hangar and operations facility at our Shelbyville Army Aviation Support Center. This investment matters. It gives 900 Indiana Guardsmen assigned to our 38th Combat Aviation Brigade the modern facilities they need to support rapid homeland deployment, strengthen readiness, and improve recruitment and retention. This bill also includes more than $1.6 billion for 2 sorely needed VA centers in central Indiana, a replacement
to our 75-year-old Rudabush VA Center in Indianapolis and a new outpatient care facility in Fishers, Indiana. Together, these facilities will serve 250,000 veterans across Indiana and provide the quality care they've earned through their service to our country. This bill is a win for Indiana, for our National Guard, and our veterans, and Hoosier taxpayers. I yield back.
For what purposes does the gentleman from California seek recognition?
Speaker, I ask unanimous consent to address the floor for 1 minute and for permission to extend and revise my remarks.
Without objection, the gentleman is recognized for 1 minute.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to honor the life and legacy of a Jesuit priest, Peter Pabst. I knew him, as our community knew him, as Father Peter. Beneath his Hawaiian shirts, his easy demeanor and good humor, his heart beat with a fierce commitment to the vision that every child, regardless of their family's poverty, have access to college and future success. That conviction spurred his founding of the Sacred Heart Nativity Middle Schools a quarter century ago to educate young students in the predominantly Latino neighborhood of Washington, Guadalupe, and San Jose. A decade later, he launched Cristo Rey San Jose Jesuit High School to prepare students from high-poverty families for college, integrating job opportunities with Silicon Valley's top tech companies. For the last 3 years, every one of Cristo Rey's hundreds of graduating seniors was accepted by a four-year university, nearly all the first in their families to attend college. Father Peter also connected deeply to families in our community, conducting hundreds of baptisms, weddings, and funerals. I ask my colleagues to join me in remembering Father Peter. May his memory inspire all who share his conviction in the boundless promise of every child. Thank you. I yield, Mr. Speaker.
For what purposes does the gentleman from California seek recognition?
Mr. Speaker, I seek unanimous consent to address the House for 1 minute and to revise and extend my remarks.
Without objection, the gentleman is recognized for 1 minute.
Mr. Speaker, as I've warned for the last year, the redistricting war has spun totally out of control. Those states that have enacted new maps include Texas, California, Missouri, Ohio, North Carolina, Tennessee, and Florida. Those looking to do so either for 2026 or 2028 include New York, New Jersey, Washington, Colorado, Oregon, Maryland, Illinois, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Pennsylvania, Arizona, Nevada, Louisiana, South Carolina, Alabama, Mississippi, and Georgia. This is a disaster for our democracy, and we need to bring it to an end. I've introduced legislation to do just that by prohibiting mid-decade redistricting. And the good news is there is growing bipartisan support for this. On the Republican side, co-sponsors of my bill include Representative Kiggins and Baird. On the Democrat side, Representatives Cleaver and Landsman recently endorsed the legislation. And the minority leader, Hakeem Jeffries, appeared to do so as well, saying the only reason he's participating in the redistricting war is that there is not a national standard that prohibits mid-decade redistricting. I would encourage the minority leader to endorse explicitly my legislation. I'd endorse every member to sign the discharge petition I've opened so we can bring this deeply damaging redistricting war to an end. I yield back.
For what purposes does the gentlewoman from New York seek recognition? Without objection, the gentlewoman is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, I rise today to honor the outstanding career of Dean Lodge, a dedicated UPS driver who has recently retired after more than 37 years with UPS, including 26 years in the Long Beach community. After growing up in Jamaica, Mr. Lodge moved to New York with his family in 1988, starting with UPS in 1989 in Manhattan. He eventually transferred to Long Beach in 2000, where he became far more than a delivery driver. He became a trusted neighbor and friend. Known for his kindness, reliability, personal connection, Dean built lasting relationships with the families and businesses he served. He proudly knew his customers by name, looked out for their safety, and brought a sense of care to his work each and every day and consistency to Long Beach. He gave back. He mentored his fellow drivers, earning a deep respect from his colleagues. Thank you, Dean, for your decades of service and the joy you brought to Long Beach. I wish you all the best in your retirement and hope you enjoy the races at Belmont Park for years to come. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I yield back.
For what purposes does the gentleman from Missouri seek recognition?
Mr. Speaker, I rise to request unanimous consent to address the House for 1 minute and to revise and extend my remarks.
Without objection, the gentleman is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today I rise to congratulate the Emmanuel Eagles boys basketball team for becoming national champions. These young men traveled to Fort Wayne, Indiana from St. Charles, Missouri to win the 78th Lutheran Basketball Association of America's national championship. These incredible young athletes worked hard to show their peers at the national level never to underestimate Missouri grit. As they faced exceptional teams from across the Midwest, these young men demonstrated their hard work, discipline, integrity, and commitment to something greater than themselves. Every pass, every hustle, every moment on the court reflected their dedication to glorifying God through their efforts. This victory is a testament to the coaches, teachers, and parents at Emmanuel Lutheran School who invest in these young men every day. To God be the glory. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield back.
For what purposes the gentlewoman from Ohio seek recognition? Without objection, the gentlewoman is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise today with a full heart to honor the brave crew of Artemis II. They journeyed farther than any other human beings ever before them, returning home safely to Earth. Then, their mission, which was aided by training and research from Northern Ohio's Glenn and Armstrong research facilities, remind us of the deep bonds that hold us together: faith, family, country. These astronauts carried with them the hopes of a nation. And in their words upon return, we heard humility, gratitude, and a renewed love for our fragile planet. Let me also pay tribute to the naval ship that welcomed them home, the USS John P. Murtha, named for a resolute Marine Corps veteran, former colleague here in the House, and son of Pennsylvania, who devoted his life to serving America. That vessel stood as a symbol of steady resolve of duty carried out far from shore. From the heartland of northern Ohio and western Pennsylvania, and our shores from coast to coast, to the heavens above, this mission belongs to every American who dares to dream. May we honor their courage, not only with words, but with continued commitment and funding to exploration, unity, and future generations who will follow in their footsteps. God bless them all. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield back.
For what purposes the gentleman from Pennsylvania seek recognition?
To address the House for 1 minute and to revise and extend my remarks.
Without objection, the gentleman is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise today to honor the life of Michael Crawford, a devoted father, husband, loyal friend, and public servant who spent his life answering the call when others needed help the most. As a firefighter and EMT with the Wilkes-Barre City Fire Department, he stood on the front lines of emergencies, protecting his neighbors and his community for 25 years. He truly embodied what it means to give to our community, serving not for recognition, but because others depended on him. However, if you ask those who knew him best, they'll tell you his favorite role was not in uniform, but at home with his family. He was the proud father of 12 children and a loving husband to his wife, Jessica. Over the last year, Michael courageously battled a terminal cancer diagnosis, but before he left this earth, he had one last wish: to see his children graduate. That wish was fulfilled in 3 early graduation ceremonies, allowing him to see his 2 daughters receive their nursing diplomas, and through the support of his community, a special high school graduation ceremony held for his son. Today we mourn his passing, but we also celebrate the life that reminds us of what truly matters: faith, family, service, and sacrifice. To his wife, to his children, his EMT and fire department family, and to all who loved him, we extend our deepest condolences. And to Michael Crawford, we offer our gratitude. May we honor his legacy, not just with words, but striving to live with the same strength and unwavering devotion he showed us every single day. Thank you. I yield back.
For what purposes the gentleman from New Hampshire seek recognition? Without objection, the gentleman is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to mark Police Week and express my thanks and support for the law enforcement officers in New Hampshire and across the country. Our police answer the call every day, regardless of the danger they might face. They do work that is indispensable to fight crime, keep the peace, and provide assistance to those in need. This week, we honor those tragically lost in the line of duty and can never forget their sacrifice. We must give support and respect to everyone who wears the uniform, as well as their families. I've had the privilege to work with the New Hampshire law enforcement community, and I am grateful for their professionalism and leadership, and they deserve the resources to do their jobs. We should be passing legislation to increase funding to our local departments to modernize public safety infrastructure, provide new technology and equipment, and hire and train more officers. I join my colleagues in thanking the men and women who swear an oath to protect and serve and keep us safe. I yield back.
For what purposes the gentleman from Texas seek recognition?
And extend my remarks.
Without objection, the gentleman is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Fraudsters are robbing the American people. In Ohio, hundreds of shell companies operating out of empty office buildings billed the federal government for over $250 million for home health services that couldn't even be verified. We believe the full scope of this scandal, in fact, reaches into the billions of dollars. These are programs that required no medical training, had no verification that services were actually provided, and had no spending caps. But they enriched fraudsters at the expense of the American people. That's why Chairman Comer created the Task Force on Defending Constitutional Rights and Exposing Institutional Abuses to go after corrupt institutions that steal from taxpayers, abuse our immigration system, silence Americans, and bury illegal discrimination. It's my honor to lead this task force. This week, we sent a letter demanding answers from the Ohio Department of Medicaid, and we're going to get them. The era of zero consequences is over. We're coming for every single institution that thinks otherwise. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
For what purposes the gentleman from New York seek recognition?
Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent to address the House for 1 minute and to revise and extend my remarks.
Without objection, the gentleman is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, I rise today to recognize a man of unyielding faith, compassion, and love. Reverend Robert DeMartinez, known to New York's Capital Region as Father Bob, this year celebrates the 40th anniversary of his ordination as a priest. Born in Amsterdam, New York on November 11th of 1956 to Filomeno Sasso and the late Tulio DeMartinez, Father Bob, guided by the deep faith of his parents and service as an altar boy for Fathers Robert Balch and Joseph Beck, sensed his calling at an early age. He was ordained in Florida in 1986 and returned home to Amsterdam on Trinity Sunday to celebrate his first Mass that year at St. Casmer's Church. He permanently returned to the Albany Catholic Diocese in 1990, serving at several parishes within the diocese. It was in 2010 that Father Bob was welcomed for service in his hometown of Amsterdam to shepherd the congregation of St. Stanislaus. Today, as pastor of both St. Stanislaus and Our Lady of Mount Carmel churches, his devotion and spirit of service shine through every Mass he offers and every religious assignment he assumes. As we honor his 4 decades of faithful service, a hearty ad multos annos, Father Bob, is rendered.
Gentleman's time is expired.
Congratulations. With that, Mr. Speaker, I thank you and yield back.
For what purposes the gentleman from Rhode Island seek recognition? Without objection, the gentleman is recognized for 1 minute.
Mr. Speaker, recently Trump's Agriculture Secretary bragged with great pride about kicking 4.5 million Americans off of SNAP. At a time when Republicans' tariffs and wars have jacked up grocery prices, it's not good news that Trump and Republicans are making Americans hungrier. SNAP provides the bare minimum, just enough. But it means kids in Woonsocket can focus at school and not on an empty stomach. It means moms in Pawtucket can worry a little less if there's enough on the breakfast table. It means veterans in Middletown have breathing room on their decisions to pay the light bill or food. It means seniors in Smithfield might not skip a prescription refill to eat. Celebrating ripping away 4.5 million American SNAP benefits is immoral and wrong. If this administration actually wanted to help families, they'd lower costs, not take away food and make life more expensive. We have to protect SNAP. I yield back.
For what purposes the gentlewoman from Oregon seek recognition? Without objection, the gentlewoman is recognized for 1 minute.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to recognize Alan Pollock for 19 years of dedicated public service in my district. This summer, Alan is retiring from his role as general manager of the Salem Area Mass Transit District, also known as Chariots. Under Alan's leadership, Chariots has grown steadily. They restored weekend and late-night service, underwent a comprehensive rebranding, and have put sustainable, climate-friendly electric buses into circulation. Chariots now provides over 3 million rides yearly. But beyond numbers, Alan quite literally brought our community together, bringing workers to their jobs, shoppers to stores, and parents home to their children. Oregon's 6th District wishes Alan the best in his next chapter. We thank him for his years of dedicated service and for leaving the Salem area stronger and more connected. Thank you, and I yield back.
For what purposes the gentlewoman from California seek recognition? Without objection, the gentlewoman is recognized for 1 minute.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to speak about who we are in this moment when the world is watching us choose. The president's illegal war has already lasted 75 days and cost us over $29 billion. We are bombing schoolgirls in Iran, and we are standing by while civilians are being murdered by the thousands, and we are shattering every global alliance that we have built. And we stand alone. History will require atonement, but we can choose differently. We have a choice right now. We are a nation of profound moral power. The power does not live in bullets, but it lives in our willingness to return to our deepest values, to choose diplomacy when the world expects war, to honor the lives of those we claim to protect while refusing to destroy them. This is the moment that can and will define us, not who we are, rather who we are choosing to be, to achieve a free Iran, a free Cuba, a free Lebanon, a free Venezuela, a free Sudan, a free Gaza. Diplomacy is our best tool.
Time has expired.
I will not support or give another dime to this war, and I call on Congress to remember who we are meant to be. And I yield back. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
For what purposes the gentleman from Florida seek recognition? Without objection, the gentleman is recognized for 1 minute.
Mr. Speaker, it is America's 250th anniversary, and we are proud in Central Florida to have this historic accomplishment of Artemis II's successful moon mission. Every day, Central Floridians drive out to the Cape to work on advancing America's space leadership. This is the first moon mission in over 50 years. They went the furthest of any humans ever, the first astronauts to witness the dark side of the moon from their own eyes. And we welcomed astronauts Reed, Victor, Christina, and Jeremy to the Capitol this week. They had many firsts: the oldest astronaut, the first astronaut of color, the first female astronaut, and the first non-American to do a moon mission. And as the only member of Congress to witness both Artemis launches firsthand, I couldn't be more proud of them. Congress needs to be committed to us going back to the moon, to land, to go to Mars and beyond. And so we need to dig deep to advance American space leadership, promote innovation, and for the sake of all humankind. And I yield back.
For what purposes the gentleman from Texas seek recognition? Without objection, the gentleman is recognized for 1 minute.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today on behalf of the threatening conditions for the Texas Gulf Coast shrimping and fishing industry, an industry that has thrived for generations but is now under threat to unfair competition from foreign countries and foreign import seafood, an issue that this administration said they would address under America First policies. But they forgot the Texas fishing industry, and now labor shortages exacerbate the H-2B visa caps that are preventing small family-owned businesses from securing the necessary workforce. To make matters worse, our shrimpers must now catch 3 times the load to make up for the high fuel costs of $80,000 per vessel. In response to this crisis, I co-led the House-passed Save Our Shrimpers Act to block taxpayer-funded projects from financing foreign shrimp industries. But the administration must provide immediate relief by giving our shrimpers and fishermen the ability to hire the workforce they need to survive the season.
Time has expired.
I strongly urge President Trump and this administration to release more H-2B or H-2A visas so we can bring certainty to the coastal communities and assure the American shrimping and fishing industry can survive. And I yield back.
For what purposes does the gentleman from Maryland seek recognition?
Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent to address the chamber for 1 minute and to revise and extend my remarks.
Without objection, the gentleman is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise today in observance of National Police Week. Over 300 names were added to the wall in memoriam this week. One of those names was my cousin, Earl Ivey Jr. He served as an officer for the Mount Rainier Police Department, the Office of the Sheriff, the St. Pleasant Police Department, and he did double duty as chief and chaplain of the Fairmount Heights Police Department. He was an excellent man, an excellent father and husband, and a great neighbor and friend. And I commend him and all of the others who were added to the wall this week. But I had one comment I wanted to make to my colleagues. During this week that should be celebratory, there was an amendment that was offered, or a resolution that was offered, that was political and partisan instead of being straightforward and honoring those who were added to the wall. Their names don't have D's or R's listed after them. They didn't serve based on their party affiliation. We should set those party affiliations to the side for this week and this purpose and just celebrate them and the great work that they do. And with that, I yield back.
For what purposes does the gentleman from California seek recognition? Without objection, the gentleman is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In 75 days, Trump's war has caused the deaths of over 2,000 innocent civilians, including 413 children and 15 American service people. Initially, President Trump called his actions in Iran a little excursion that would last a couple of weeks. Now he's acknowledged it's a war, and last month the president threatened a whole civilization to die. This war has cost almost $30 billion to American taxpayers, has caused American inflation rate to rise to almost 4%, and has raised gas prices for hardworking Americans across this country. President Trump does not have the power to declare war. This is a war, not an excursion. Only Congress can declare war. We cannot continue to cede congressional authority to a president who acts like this. I call on my Republican colleagues and leaders in Congress to stand up and push back against this reckless and corrupt president before any more lives are lost. Pope Leo, a great American moral authority, says, "The future belongs to men and women in peace." I stand with a great American, Pope Leo XIV. I yield back.
Members are reminded to refrain from engaging in personalities towards the president. Under the Speaker's announced policy of January 3rd, 2025, the gentleman from Tennessee, Mr. Rose, is recognized for 60 minutes as the designee of the Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise today to recognize the Smith County High School Owls of Carthage, Tennessee, Class 2A semifinalists in the 2025 TSSAA State Basketball Championships, and to honor their remarkable journey representing Smith County and Tennessee's 6th Congressional District. These young men embodied everything we admire in our communities: grit, teamwork, and an unshakable belief in one another. From the hills of Smith County, they competed on the biggest stage in Tennessee high school basketball, and they did it with pride, dedication, and heart. To head coach Lane Bussell, the coaching staff, the families, and the entire Carthage community, This team made you proud. A semifinal finish in Class 2A is no small feat, and these Owls prove that Smith County competes with anyone in the great state of Tennessee. Mr. Speaker, I rise today to honor a remarkable achievement from the young men of Upperman High School in Baxter, Tennessee, right in the heart of Putnam County in Tennessee's 6th District. The Upperman Bees have made their community proud, competing as semifinalists in the 2026 TSSAA Class 3A Boys Basketball State Championship. These student athletes displayed the grit, discipline, and teamwork that defines the character of our communities in Middle Tennessee. From the opening tip to the final buzzer, the Baxter Bees represented Putnam County with class and heart. Their coaches, including head coach Bobby McWilliams, families, the entire Upperman community, have every reason to stand tall today. Mr. Speaker, we celebrate these young men not just for the games they won, but for the example they set. Mr. Speaker, I rise today to celebrate a remarkable achievement by the Sparta Warrior girls basketball team from White County High School in Tennessee's 6th Congressional District. This season, the Warriors advanced all the way to the 2026 TSSAA Class 3A Girls Basketball State Championship game, finishing as proud runner-up. In doing so, they earned their 2nd consecutive trip to the state tournament, a feat that speaks volumes about their talent, discipline, and unrelenting work ethic. From the opening tip to the final buzzer, these young women represented White County with discipline and dedication. Their coaches and families poured countless hours into developing not just great athletes, but great leaders. In a district that values hard work and perseverance, the Sparta Warriors have given us all something to celebrate and a standard of excellence to follow. I congratulate every player, their head coach, and supporters of this outstanding season. Tennessee's 6th District is stronger because of these young women. Mr. Speaker, I rise today to recognize an extraordinary achievement by the York Institute Dragons of Jamestown, Tennessee, in Fentress County. This year, the Dragons captured the hearts of their community with a remarkable run to the TSSAA Class 2A Girls Basketball State Championship, finishing as runner-up. This marks their 5th consecutive state tournament appearance, a testament to their disciplined hard work, an unwavering commitment to excellence. In a county of modest means and mighty pride, their journey to the state championship game reflects what is possible when a community rallies behind its young people. The banner that will hang in the gym at Alvin C. York Institute stands as a symbol of that shared effort and belief. The legacy of Sergeant Alvin C. York, a man who embodied grit, humility, and perseverance himself, lives on in every player who wore the Dragons' colors this season. Mr. Speaker, I ask my colleagues to join me in congratulating the York Institute Dragons on an outstanding season. Mr. Speaker, I rise today to talk about money, or more specifically, cash. As many of you know, I, alongside my Democrat colleague, Congressman Donald Norcross, have introduced the Bipartisan Payment Choice Act of 2025, H.R. 1138. The bill is straightforward in its intent: to protect the right of Americans to use cash for retail purchases up to $500. This legislation is not just about dollars and cents. It's about preserving the freedoms, privacy, and practicalities that cash affords every American. I hold in my hand a $20 bill, and as probably most of you have looked closely at our American currency knows, inscribed on the face alongside of this bill, alongside the portrait of Andrew Jackson, is the inscription that this note is legal tender for all debts, public and private. The late Congressman Donald Payne Jr., who was deeply passionate about this issue, captured it best when he said that, quote, cash is the only option available for millions of Americans to pay for food, housing, and other essentials. There are also major security concerns with digital payments that don't exist with cash payments. Companies cannot misuse your data after a cash payment. And frankly, there are few things more American than cash, close quote. Cash should continue to be the one form of payment that is truly universal, accepted everywhere, by everyone, regardless of age, income, or your background. Yet an alarming number of businesses, large and small, around the nation are refusing to accept cash despite its status as legal tender for all debts, public and private. Many of our national parks are also taking part in this unfortunate trend. Imagine being denied access to a federal park as an American taxpayer who has cash in hand. It's unreasonable, and we cannot let this continue. The shift toward a cashless society may be convenient for all of us, but it will leave behind millions of Americans. Nearly 1 in 5 U.S. households rely exclusively on cash or have no access to alternative means of payment beyond the physical dollars. Cash isn't just a preference to many folks, it's a necessity. That includes seniors, the unbanked, those on fixed incomes, and privacy-conscious American citizens. Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell testified before the House Financial Services Committee, which I serve on, that cash is, quote, absolutely critical because there are people who don't have credit cards, close quote, and that, quote, when stores are not dealing with people who don't have credit cards, it's a serious problem, close quote. And he's right. But not only are digital payments not accessible to everybody, they also come with real concerns about privacy, data security, and the risk of identity theft. The Payment Choice Act is rooted in fundamental American values, the freedom to choose, fairness, and privacy. By giving consumers the right to pay with cash, we uphold their ability to participate fully in our economy while also safeguarding their personal privacy. Paying with cash means you leave no digital breadcrumbs, and your personal information belongs to you. At the same time, America is embracing new financial innovations, and I understand that. Last July, I joined President Trump at the White House for the signing of the Genius Act into law. The law reinforces the United States' leadership in digital currencies by securing dollar-pegged stablecoins as the dominant digital currency in the world. This is an important step forward, but even as we welcome these advances, we must never lose sight of a simple truth. Cash remains vital to our nation's economic stability, our individual freedoms, and national security. In times of crisis, whether it's a natural disaster or a cyber attack, digital payment systems can fail. Just look around the world, and the case for cash is clear. Sweden, for example, is now backpedaling on its decades-long push to go cashless. Sweden's cashless U-turn was driven by security concerns after witnessing attacks on energy grids and communications networks in the Ukraine. Back home, we've seen a disturbing rise in the number of cyber attacks targeting our grid and our telecommunications networks. And if that grid goes down, and if those networks are compromised, you'll be glad that you have cash, and not just a cash app. I want to address the, quote, let the market decide, close quote, argument. Some say we should let the market decide whether a business accepts cash. But the reality is far more complicated. Massachusetts, New York, New Jersey, San Francisco, and other states have passed their own state or local regulations. That's not letting the market decide. And with no federal law requiring cash acceptance, this inconsistent patchwork of regulations creates headaches for retailers and consumers alike. That's not truly a market decision, but rather a fragmented regulation. Establishing a national standard would not only streamline operations for businesses, but also ensure that every American retains the freedom to use cash, a public good, and legal tender. The case of Toby Stover versus the United States National Park Service recently underscored the importance of this fight. The case involves a woman who attempted to pay her entrance fee at the historic home of President Franklin D. Roosevelt in Hyde Park, New York, using U.S. currency clearly marked as legal tender. Park officials refused, turning her away despite federal law stating that U.S. coins and currency are, again, legal tender for all debts, public charges, taxes, and dues. Think about that. A federal agency declined to accept the very currency issued by the U.S. Treasury at the home of the president, who in 1935 ordered the Great Seal of the United States be printed on every dollar bill to instill public confidence during the Great Depression. That's not just ironic, hypothetical. It is a glaring contradiction in our payment systems. Our legislation is carefully crafted. It requires brick-and-mortar businesses that accept in-person payments to accept cash for purchases up to $500. It prohibits charging cash customers more than those paying by credit card, and it includes reasonable exceptions for temporary cash shortages or system failures. We've also built in consumer protections and clear enforcement mechanisms so that the right to pay with cash is not just theoretical, but real and enforceable. As I have said before, cash is and always will be king. As a growing number of businesses across the country refuse to accept cash, it's important for Congress to publicly recognize its importance. Mr. Speaker, I call on Americans to encourage their representatives and senators in Congress to support the Payment Choice Act, and on my colleagues in the House and Senate to join me in affirming that cash should be universally accepted across this great country. Together, we can ensure that payment choice remains a cornerstone of American commerce. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I yield back.
Under the Speaker's announced policy of January 3rd, 2025, the gentleman from Texas, Mr. Green, is recognized for 60 minutes as the designee of the Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, and still I rise, and still I rise, an unbought, unbossed, unafraid, liberated Democrat. I rise as an unbought, liberated, unafraid Democrat, unbought by crypto cash, unbought by the millions of dollars that the crypto industry spends to elect people to Congress so that they can have influence over legislation, unbossed by the cryptocrats, the people who are among the greediest when it comes to controlling money, who desire to not only avoid taxes but to evade taxes. Unbossed, unbought, and unafraid. Unafraid to speak truth to the powerful crypto industry, and unafraid to speak truth about the powerful crypto industry. You can speak truth to power by simply saying, power, there's a problem. Let's solve it. I speak truth about power because I say to power, there is a problem and you are it. So today, as a censured but not silenced, censured but not silenced member of Congress who will today speak truth not only to power but also speak truth about power. And as I do so, I will use my pointer as I customarily do, my cane. By the way, this cane is not to help me ambulate. I'm quite ambulatory. This cane is the rod and the staff that comforts me in the presence of my enemies when I don't have the protection that Congress is providing us, and I don't always have it. So today, as I speak truth, unbought, unbossed, unafraid, censured but not silenced, I want to call several things to your attention under the topic of the dangers of unregulated cryptocurrency, the dangers associated with cryptocurrency when it's not properly regulated. Let's start with the meme coins. The meme coins. If you own a meme coin, you own nothing. You have bought nothing. You have paid for nothing, and at some point, some of the owners of meme coins will get exactly what they paid for, nothing. A meme coin is a fiction that requires the person who buys initially or at some point to hope that there's another person that will buy at a higher price, and that money between the price paid for and the price you can sell for the higher price becomes your profit. Well, in the parlance of those who do much of this at a street level, that's called the greater fool theory. Buying in and believing that there's a greater fool who will come along and cover your possible losses. If you own a meme coin, you own nothing. The president is one of the great purveyors of meme coins. The president has a coin, the dollar Trump coin, and this coin he can pump up and he can dump and leave those who are part of the higher price holding the bag. The president pumps and dumps. This is a scam. I'm speaking truth about power, not just to power. Yes, Mr. President, you are the problem. You have taken advantage of many people with your scam, wherein you can make comments and tell people to come down to Mar-a-Lago. Come on down, and those who have the greatest investment, you will be allowed. Those who are buying in at a cheaper level won't be allowed. Therefore, people can go out and buy so that they can be among those who will come to Mar-a-Lago. And as a result, he pumps up the value of his meme coin, which is nothing. He pumps up the value of nothing, and then at some point he can sell at this higher price and make an amount of money. This is really insider trading that is transparent. I don't think the president ought to be able to own meme coins. I don't think the cabinet should own meme coins. I don't think members of Congress should own meme coins. I think that members of Congress, the president and the cabinet, we have advantages that other people don't have. We talk to each other. The president can tell people when to buy and when to sell because he's going to pump and then dump or allow you to dump. I believe the law ought to regulate such that meme coins cannot be owned and sold by members of Congress and members of the cabinet and the president and possibly some others that I shall not name at this point. I believe that we have to properly regulate the meme coin. That's why the cryptocrats want to get me out of Congress, because they know I fight them. I stand in the way of what they attempt to do to people who are not knowledgeable about how this can be pumped and dumped and how people can be taken advantage of. I'm in the way. Yes, come and get me. I understand it. Come and get me. Because as long as I'm here, I'm going to stay in the way. Because I want to protect the American people from this kind of insider trading, this kind of selling of nothing and being taken advantage of by those who happen to buy nothing and assume that they can sell it for something. Yes, the meme coin is a problem. And those who sell it and create it are part of the problem when it's not properly regulated. I want to call to your attention the decentralization of cryptocurrency. The cryptocrats want to decentralize cryptocurrency so that they can have peer-to-peer transference of dollars, huge sums of dollars, untold amounts of dollars. Peer-to-peer transfers. Why is this so important to them? Because if you can transfer peer-to-peer, you can engage in tax evasion more than tax avoidance. Tax avoidance is legal. Tax evasion is illegal. You can transfer huge sums of money from one person to another without some central entity that can be there to make sure that it's properly regulated. That's what the cryptocrats want. They want to be able to just transfer money. That way you can avoid taxes. But you can also do something else when you have this peer-to-peer transference. You can also transfer that money at a speed that is unbelievably fast. You can transfer it to a terrorist organization. It can be received by those who would do us harm, those who would disrupt our society, those who would disrupt the democracy that we cherish. Yes, the cryptocrats are in the business of buying and selling, and they're also in the business of contributing to those who would agree with what I am antithetical to, because those who would agree what I'm antithetical to will allow them to have peer-to-peer transfers, would allow them to have meme coins that are meaningless, nothing but a thought, a fiction. I'm speaking truth about power, not just to it. Yes, decentralization without regulation is a problem. And of course, the cryptocrats, whether wittingly or unwittingly, are moving in the direction of creating something akin to the demise of the almighty dollar. The demise of the almighty dollar. Cryptocrats would, if they could, have cryptocurrency become the preeminent currency. There's a war for currency supremacy going on across the globe. The dollar is the supreme currency across the globe. It is the reserve currency of choice across the globe. The cryptocrats would have the cryptocurrency become the currency of choice. Use the cryptocurrency. Use it, and you don't have to have it go through some centralized location. Just transfer your money like you please. In fact, if they had their way, cryptocurrency would be tantamount to banks. They would have unregulated banks. And the sad thing about what I've just said is that the banks don't know who their friends are. They don't know who their friends are. They don't understand, it seems, that there are some of us who are fighting this. They don't seem to understand that. Well, I can tell you this. I'm going to protect the American banking system, whether the banks will join in and help or not. I'm going to protect the American banking system because in so doing, I'm protecting the American dollar. And so doing, I'm helping to protect American democracy to a certain extent. Because if the banking system fails, people lose trust. They lose trust in the economy. That impacts the democracy in the sense of we've allowed people to be placed into office that would facilitate this decentralized transference of money. I am opposed to it. And I'm going to protect the banks in this country, a system that has functioned. It has allowed the dollar to be the supreme currency of choice globally. We have to protect the American dollar. I'm going to do that. The cryptocrats, if they had their way, they would own every member of Congress. Every member. But there are some who resist. I am a part of the resistance. As a matter of fact, I may be at the tip of the spear of the resistance, a part of the avant-garde. I am the resistance to a certain extent. There are others, but I assure you, I am going to remain the architect of some portion of this resistance as long as I'm in Congress. And therein is the operative phrase for the cryptocrats. He said, as long as he's in Congress. Well, if we just get him out of Congress, we don't have him to contend with. Well, you can do that, but there are others who will follow. There are others who are already in the fight. They're there. But I can assure you of this, I'm going to fight you to the bitter end. Until my last days, I will fight what I see as a demise of the dollar, a peer-to-peer transference of money such that you can avoid taxes, the creation of nothing and selling it as something. This is the epitome of ridiculosity, to allow such things to occur and not challenge them. I assure all who listen, I'm going to protect your wallet. There are people who say they want to put more money in your wallet. Well, I'm going to protect your wallet and make sure that you can get money in your wallet and not allow people to cleverly disguise themselves as persons who want to regulate when in fact they just want to pass something under the guise of regulation so that the cryptocurrency, the cryptocrats, can continue to move in the direction of dominance with the cryptocurrency, the crypto dollars, as it were. This is not something that we should take lightly, and I do not. I want to assure you that I am censured but not silenced. And I also want to assure you of something else. The countdown to impeachment continues. Because what the president has done as it relates to wars, relates to pumping and dumping, which I've explained earlier, and as it relates to his disrespect for the Constitution of the United States of America, he's done things that are clearly impeachable. It's just a matter of time, Mr. President. Your day will come. Someone is going to stand in the well of the House of Representatives and read articles of impeachment to remove you from office. It would be the thing that this country should do so as to prevent another cryptocrat such as yourself. Yes, the president is a cryptocrat. To prevent another cryptocrat such as yourself from assuming power. We have to protect American democracy from the cryptocrats. We've already had a former vice president to say that this president is a great threat to the republic. I think he said the greatest threat to the republic. President Donald John Trump. Threat to the republic. Threat to democracy. Cryptocracy is his main concern, it seems, because it's a family business that he's brought to the White House. And they are using this family business to make billions of dollars at the expense of unsuspecting Americans and people of other stripes as well. But I am censured, not silenced, and I'm engaging in a countdown to impeachment. I know that there are people who want to know when. It will happen when it happens. And I assure you it's going to happen. So, Mr. Speaker, I'm grateful for the time. And I'm proud to say that I'm Al Green, the OG Al Green. Unbought, unbossed, unafraid, uncontrolled by the cryptocrats. I yield back the balance of my time.
Members are reminded to refrain from engaging in personalities toward the President. Does the gentleman have a motion?
I do, Mr. Speaker. I do now ask that the House adjourn.
The question is on the motion to adjourn. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion is adopted. Accordingly, the House stands adjourned until noon on Tuesday next for morning hour debate.